Alright, hello everyone. So starting off, I'm going to just talk about the two characters here. They are very similar to the enemies and the theory crafting video that I made beforehand. Pretty much almost one for one actually, with the change to time delay and interlocking time, as well as removal of some of these small statuses like fragility, as well as paralyze and attack power down. Like these are the only things that really change for these characters. I'm gonna summarize them first in case you don't want to hear all the yapping. 1, 2, use guard skill, go into 3. And for Dawn, it's 1, 2, you can go into 3, but ideally you want to go into guard into 3. But you don't have to, you can just straight up use 3 if you don't mind. But if you get tremor bursted, you will suffer. Right. So that is the summary of these characters' kits. And now I will just go more in depth into the characters. Okay, so let's talk about the new statuses that they introduce. For Rodion, she introduces Time and Moratorium, but for Dawn, she introduces Tremor Chain as well. And if you do not know where the hell this Tremor Chain came from, it's actually on the enemies. The enemies apply it onto you, which is why I already knew that this existed beforehand. So the enemies already applied this onto your characters, and now this character, which Dawn is, which is the enemy, is going to also apply it back onto them. So we are getting Tremor Cyan. I think it's Cyan, or is it light blue or whatever, I don't care. But yeah, this status, right, is not great. It's decent for characters with really bad clash, like maybe your LCCB Ishmael or your Rose Phantom Assault. But for everyone else who already has pretty good clashing power, they do not need this additional help from this lose clash power for every X Tremor potency on self. And the bad news is that since Dawn does apply this, it will force amplitude conversion really early, and that is very annoying because it means that you need to use your white plus yellow on the same turn that you use your Tremor Chain. Otherwise, your whatever soup that you've applied will probably get converted back into the regular Tremor. Right? Let's say I use the Cavernous Wailing Ego to apply my yellow first, and then what happens is that Dawn goes first next turn, she applies the blue, and then my white, my Everlasting Faust, is going to go last. Well, that sucks, right? I'm not going to be able to get the additional white bursting on top of the blue and stuff. But on the other hand, if I were to do like yellow first, and then I wait until Faust is reasonably ahead in speed, then I will be able to kind of get quite a optimal white plus yellow burst, right? But since Dawn forces it into Tremor Chain, we are kind of forced to go with whatever we get in the next turn. Speed RNG is a bitch with Tremor right now, and I'm a bit peeved whenever I try to do a big combo, and then after that I realize that shit, my white is too slow, my yellow is too slow, so I can't really get a very optimal burst. Right. So that is generally one of the issues with this team comp right now, and Tremor Chain is just going to make that a little bit more worse. Yeah, it's just worse. Okay, now let's talk about Borrowed Time. Borrowed Time is going to be copy-pasted straight off from the enemies. The enemies also get this exact same effect. Gain haste, gain clash power, gain fragility next turn based on Borrowed Time count. You can be forced out of it if you get too much bind, but that's only if you get hit. And remember, you have clash power up, so it's generally very hard for you to get hit. And turn end, at the last count of Borrowed Time, you will gain bind next turn based on the Borrowed Time potency, and this potency will increase with every turn end. So you basically borrow time, then you have to pay back the time at the end of the borrowed time. Very simple to understand. Time Moratorium. Now this one is cool. It's a mixture of the time delay effect from this enemy over here, as well as the interlocking time effect from this enemy over here. So this is the fusion of both of them. The enemy will not take any damage as long as this effect is active. Combat end, if there's only one count left of this effect, the effect will trigger Tremor Burst after dealing 100 plus potency times certain percentage of stored damage as sloth damage. This X here, right, is actually the most important part about this calculation here. Because if this was a 2, right, or okay, let's say this is like a 2, a 3, or 4, what happens is that since the potency here is going to be the Tremor potency, from what I can tell, alright, the Tremor potency, then what happens is that you will take this Tremor potency, let's say you do 99, then you will times it by 2, times it by 3, times it by 4, and whatever the number you get here, you add it with the 100 and then you do the percentage burst. That is a huge amount of increase because of this multiplier here. Because 99 times 2 is 198, then you times 3 is 2 something. Basically you get like 2 times, 3 times, 4 times damage, right? So whatever this number here is, you are going to get a massive increase in the damage number. And I need to know what affects this X over here, or is it a fixed number? I'm assuming it's a fixed number, but what number is it? Because it is a very high number, it's going to be insane, and if it's like even just a 2, it's going to be very, very strong. Like theoretically, let's do 99 times 2, that's 198, plus 100, that's 298, that is basically 3 times damage. Triple your damage is kind of nutty already, right? Like, I did 400 damage, I take that times 3, okay, that is that's a dead boss right there, or a 100% staggered boss right there. Like, that's an insane amount of damage. Alright, so this is the potential of Tremor right now. And if you really want to pop it early, you can use another time moratorium on top of another time moratorium effect. And this will immediately blow up all of this moratorium. So that is going to be very, very cool. It means that you will be able to do quite a substantial amount of damage, but in exchange, you will not be able to do any damage to the target for a certain number of turns. And then you'll get a really funny number at the end of Time Moratorium or whenever you decide to pop it. Really, really cool status, and it's exactly what I predicted. They did add time delay and interlocking time to the game. Alright, so now that I've talked about that, let's actually talk about the characters. I'll start off with Rodion first. Rodion, like I said, is a very simple character to understand because skill 1 and skill 2, you're just gaining Tremor, really. Gain Tremor, gain Tremor. You see 2 lines here is like Rip from W Don. You gain Tremor, gain Tremor. It's like Leap from W Don. It's like you see the similarities. It's just a charge character but with Tremor, pretty much. And in addition, the extra effect that she has is that she will also apply Bind if the target has a certain amount of Tremor, and she also deal more damage for every bind on the target. Which is, I guess it's cool. They're time collectors, right? So they want to catch time from their enemies, which makes them slower. So yeah, kind of makes sense. And then the skill tree here will consume all of that Tremor count on yourself to gain coin power. And then you will inflict Tremor count, inflict Tremor, inflict Tremor, inflict bind. And if this unit is in borrowed time, you will inflict time moratorium, and then after that you trigger a Tremor burst. So the most important thing here is that you must be in borrowed time when you use your skill tree with Rodion to force time moratorium so you can get the big funny number at the end of the turn. So how to do that? You have to only use it with your guard skill. There's no other skill here that will make you borrowed time except your guard skill. You need to take a turn to go and flick on your time watch here, as you can see in the art where she's flicking her watch over here. So what she's going to need to do here is borrow time. If this unit is not in borrowed time state, you will gain borrowed time at turn end. It means that you cannot stack borrowed time. You cannot borrow time into borrow time into borrow time. There's a limit. You can only pop it once, and then after that, the borrowed time will naturally end or will be forced to end by binding effects. And for this turn, when you're hit by an enemy, inflict Tremor on target the next turn. So I'm really hoping that Rodion is actually going to be a more potency or count focused character. If she can replace LCCB Ishmael, that would be really, really good. If she can already replace Massault, that will also be very, very good. Because those two characters are some of the characters I kind of want to remove from the party, but it's very hard to remove LCCB Ishmael because she's one of the biggest potency appliers, and potency is more important than count. I will keep saying this. 99 potency is way better than getting 50 count because 99 potency is your damage output in Tremor teams. So you definitely need more potency, which is why LCCB Ishmael is damn good. But at the same time, this whole team comp does not have a single evasion, so Mola Ishmael is also really, really good. But at the same time, 16 potency is like crazy, so it's really hard to justify. Right, so Golden Time Standoff passive. If this unit's HP is between X to Y%, instantly heal Z% of this unit's max HP and recover from stagger. So both of them have Golden Time actually. And when clashing against targets with Time Moratorium, you also gain Clash Power and you take less damage from targets with Time Moratorium. The fact that she gets Clash Power against targets with this effect over here makes me happy because that means that she will actually be a clashing Tremor character, just like a Euro DV Ryoshu or the Burn Ryoshu, Liu Ryoshu, right? These characters can actually clash and they are actually supports. I'm very happy that they're going with this kind of design because characters that are supports that can't fight are so annoying to use in a fight. So yeah, this is good to see. I just wish and hope that all of this potency and counts will be very, very good so that everything here will just kind of make sense, and I can replace I can replace my Rose Banner, Assault, or whatever, pretty much. Right. So very simple to understand character for Rodion. Let's move on to Dawn. For Dawn, she is very similar to Rodion, but she has several mechanics that are different from her. First off, Dawn generates aggro and only has one line of gain tremor count. She gains aggro to this skill slot next turn on use and also on hit, which is interesting. She has another instance of aggro when she exits borrowed time, and that will automatically give aggro to one of these unit skill slots next turn, which implies that maybe she is meant to be a Dichi archetype, and also she's in a full metal suit. So I'm guessing she is going to be a character that can take some hits as well as dish out a lot of damage, and I really hope that this is how she's going to be. But this gaining aggro part here is pretty interesting and really, really cool. Alright, another good thing about aggro, right, is that if you gain aggro, it means that the enemy that targets you, you can definitely clash him. I don't know if a lot of players know this, but when the enemies are really fast, right, and you can't clash them, you can clash them with the character that they are being targeted by. So if a red arrow is pointing at Dawn, Dawn can target the guy back. It doesn't matter what's the speed difference, they can just target each other because they are fighting each other, so you can just clash each other. So yeah, aggro is good when you're fighting fast enemies because you will be able to intercept any of those moves with these moves here. And I'm guessing that Dawn is going to be a very good clasher because if you look at all of her skills, she gains clash power, she gains clash power. So yeah, hopefully this is going to be a very good character and maybe even so-called the tank of the T-Corp team. Alright, so besides that, what else does she do? Well, she introduces another mechanic, but not introduced. I mean, we saw it on Linton Gregor before, but she is going to be able to consume tremor potency on a target, and she will gain Y times the amount of tremor consumed on target as tremor count on self. Now, this is cool because if you think about it, charge characters have Teleport Dawn to charge them up, while tremor characters have nothing like that. They don't have anything to gain tremor count on themselves. The only things they have is pretty much just support passives like Mola Otis or Eurodivi Ryoshu to give them additional count. So having an ability that lets you convert tremor potency on the enemy into count for yourself lets you skip a lot of charging with the 1 and 2 to go straight into the skill tree. So I think that this is a very, very cool mechanic. And in addition to that, she also inflicts a bunch of bind here, and she also does bursting and some tremor potency here. So this character skill 2 is kind of a workhorse skill. You definitely always want to have this skill 2 here. Just do note that it's consuming potency, right? So if you do want to replace the potency that you consume, and you do not want to spam too much of this skill 2 because it does reduce the damage that you deal from your yellow tremor. So yeah, skill 2 is going to be quite good in my opinion. I will have to see the numbers once again. Hopefully the numbers are good for this skill 2 here. For the skill 3, it's going to be a 4-coin skill tree. Love to see it. Both of them have 4-coin skill trees. Very, very good stuff. And you gain clash power. If the target has bind, gain clash power. Consume X tremor count on self to gain coin power. I'm expecting some fucking good numbers with this thing, man. Holy shit. Alright, and then after that we also have tremor potency, and now we trigger time moratorium. We will consume Y tremor on the target and inflict moratorium. But if you are in borrowed time, you will not consume the tremor potency. Now this is important because consuming tremor potency means that you get it on yourself. It doesn't have the second line converted into count. So this will not become count, it will become potency on yourself. And if you have 99 count as well as 50 potency, that's gonna hurt when someone bursts you. So you kind of don't want that to happen. And also when you consume, you also reduce the damage that you deal to them. The yellow tremor is not gonna do as much damage. So you also don't want to do that. Which is why ideally, you want to be in borrowed time. Because borrowed time, you do not have to consume it, you get to do a significant amount of damage with your burst. This character does not have too many bursts, only one burst, so she's not going to be a major contributor to the bursting damage of the yellow tremor, but she still has one, and that is still going to be at least a source of it, right? At least she has it. Okay, so she can definitely belong in the yellow tremor meta. Okay, and then besides that, the last effect here is that if the target speed is slower, then you will amplitude convert into tremor chain. The only good thing is that since she's fast, she will apply this first so that all of your weak characters can go and clash them. But yeah, I told you before, it ruins the tremor soup. You will not be able to do white plus yellow very, very consistently and optimally.
You have to just kind of blue, white, yellow, and just kind of pray that like all the white and yellow are kind of like before all of the other bursters go, so you are able to maximize all the burst damage. Right. So one thing to note here is that the only way you can trigger Time Moratorium is through these two characters' skill tree. So if you want to pop this on the same turn, you can, but at the same time, you might not want to because it does damage based on how much damage you have done to the target. So you will need to make sure you're ready to pop all of that damage. So hopefully like Rodion will be slow, hopefully Dawn will be slow, and then you're ready to pop the Time Moratorium, then you pop the skill tree, for example, right? That kind of makes sense. So you'll be able to kind of maximize the damage. But at the same time, you can also just let it tick down because eventually this thing will blow up by itself. And by that time, you would have stored quite a lot of damage, maybe even overkill damage, and the boss will just die. So yeah, I can't wait to see how this Time Moratorium effect actually like works. And I want to see all the stupid funny numbers you can get. Like imagine, right, you Time Moratorium, you do Wing Beat, you do Sun Shower, you do like whatever other crazy shit you want to do, Quick Suppression, Rip Space Dither, and then after that you just see billions of damage on the target. Like, It would be so funny to see like Time Moratorium like bleed also, you know, because since no damage is taken, does that mean that the bleed damage is stored? So you do 99 and then you just like do it a bunch of times and then after that it blows up. Like it's gonna be so funny just to see all that stored damage. Yeah. Alright. So okay, so Dawn's pretty simple to understand. The guard skill is also going to be borrowed time state, same as Rodion. And for this turn, when hit by an enemy, inflict tremor on target next turn, blah blah blah. The passive is golden time as well, with the change only being the aggro thing here, not for clash power, because her clash power is from the tremor on the target. And then the support passives for these two characters is not that interesting. The tremor characters generally don't have very interesting support passives. It's always for clash power pretty much. Like a lot of them is just clash power stuff, so it's really not very interesting. For her, it's going to be slower speed, takes damage from enemies with tremor, will take less damage instead. And then for Rodion, it's when one ally with the fastest speed gains clash power when clashing against targets with X plus tremor. Also, like whatever, like doesn't really matter too much. In my opinion, like these two characters will probably be in the main team if the numbers are good. And since we want to replace some of our really meh clashers, hopefully the tremor potency and count they apply is going to be significant enough to justify swapping them out. But I think Time Moratorium will be a very interesting mechanic and we'll just need to see what the numbers are on release. I will note right now that it's highly likely, right, that they mess up the math on Time Moratorium and we will get some hilarious calculations here. And then they'll give us 1300 lunacy for our trouble. So do look out for the math on Time Moratorium here. I'll let you guys know what happens when the characters actually come out from that time. But yeah, I think these two characters have some potential. It's just coin power at this point. Like coin power, potency numbers, count numbers, as well as Time Moratorium math numbers. When all of that is fully revealed, we will actually know whether these characters are worth swapping in, or will they end up like Ufi Heathcliff, who just is not it anymore. Like Ufi Heathcliff, go sit in the corner. You're like done. I'm sorry to say. Alright, so that's gonna be it for my initial kit review for these characters. I think they have potential. I think Time Moratorium as a mechanic is pretty cool. I just don't know if it's necessary, and maybe you might not even want Dawn just because Tremor Chain will ruin your white plus yellow optimal. Yeah, because most bosses already will die from white plus yellow. You don't need an additional layer of combo. This is just for fun at this point, you know? Like, okay, I'm gonna multiply that one-shot damage on the boss so it becomes a 3-shot. I'll kill 3 bosses with it. Like, yeah, it's just funny numbers at this point. But yeah, okay, so that's gonna be it for this. I will see you guys in the next video when these characters actually drop. And yeah, that's gonna be it. Remember to leave your comments if you have any other like stuff, or maybe I read something wrong or blah blah blah. Feel free to just theorycraft with me in the comment section. Alright, that's it guys. See you guys next time. Bye bye.